Possible lineup changes for Steven Silas and the Houston Rockets, the pros and cons of each possible lineup. Kelly, are you ready to get to it?
Let's go. Morning.
Right here at Locked On Rockets.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
With the second pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Houston Rockets select Jalen Green.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep getting better every day. I'm going to keep perfecting my craft. And every time I step on that floor, I'm coming.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rockets, the best and only daily podcast covering your Houston Rockets. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and co-host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin and the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets. And joining us, as he does each and every week from the Athletic Rockets beat writer, Kelly Eco. What's up, Kelly? How you doing?
What's going on, man? Let's get to it. There's a lot of stuff going on, bro. So
there's so much going on with this team, and we're going to dive into all that. We got KPJ questionable for the next game against OKC. We got Usman Garuba. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about him in the third segment, going down to the RGV Vipers. But Kelly, where I want to start before we get into a little bit of the lineup stuff, because I feel like this is a good segue to get us in there. You just had a piece come out with Gibson Piper, better known as Half Court Hoops on Twitter, kind of analyzing some of the X's and O's of what's going on with the Rockets, which first off, I got to say, shout out to our guy, Ali Kambijani, because I had him do an LOR film room on this show. And then I said, you know what, Ali Khan, get out of here. I'm going to go get Kelly Eco to hang out on the show with me. Then you said, you know what, Ali Khan, I don't need your X's and O's analysis. I'm going to go get Gibson Piper to break some stuff down for me. So I feel for our guy, Ali Khan. No, but for real, you had Gibson come on, break down some stuff, about what's going on with the Rockets. Give us a glimpse into that piece and, a couple of the tidbits that you learned, because it was a great article. And if you haven't read it, you got to go check out Kelly's work at The Athletic. It's always phenomenal. So, Kelly, give the listeners a little glimpse into what you realized that's going on with the Rockets.
So for a young basketball team trying to kind of learn the nuances of the NBA, the most important thing I think that they have to grasp is spacing. Steven Silas has talked a lot about their spacing not being good. At times, you're seeing players occupy the same positions. For a team that starts Daniel Tice and Jae'Sean Tate, the spacing already is going to be an issue. But when you have guys that are not in the right positions, it makes it even harder. A lot of that boils down to the lineup itself of starting Daniel Tice next to Wood. Obviously, because of Wood's defensive shortcomings right now, they want to have Tice as a defensive anchor. But the spacing has been terrible. Like, Tice is always going to cut to the rim as an instinct. He's a big man. He's going to always float towards the rim. Wood, although he's a spacer, he still believes he can destroy smaller guys in the paint, the 15 and 18 mid-range area. And as such, he wants to be around the paint as well. When you have those two issues, combined with the backcourt trying to learn how to play together, now you have problems. And you see what teams are playing. They're playing the zone against the Rockets at times when you have Tice. If you put KJ Martin on the floor, if you put all three at once, now the spacing is awful. And then for a team trying to kind of learn that system, playing fast, it's a recipe for disaster. And that's kind of why the Rockets I think they're dead last in the league right now in offensive rating, because the cuts are not working. Even the high pick and rolls, they're always ending up with guys in the same area. So until they figure that out or until they switch the lineup, it's going to be a problem.
Kelly, how much of that do you think is just I feel like some of it boils down to like team chemistry and skill. Like, there's so many variables that play into it, right? There's team chemistry, there's scheme, there's just natural player instincts. And there's one guy that stands out above everybody else, to me at least, at still utilizing his spacing effectively, right? And even though he's not a shooter, it's got to be Jae'Sean Tate to me, right? He's a guy that, even though he's, a non-shooter, quote unquote, he cuts well. He knows when to cut. He makes smart reads offensively. And it seems like he's constantly in the right place at the right time. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, I think Tate has an understanding because he's played in this system, a year ago, and he understands kind of where to be, at times. The only problem with that is he's playing with other guys that also like to be in the post. They like to operate out of the post, Wood and Tice at times. So until you teach those guys how to space and stay out of the way and let Tate kind of be the pseudo five, almost acting like a post playmaker at times, you're going to run into problems.
So
I think an easy way to fix that up is because it's kind of hard to tell guys to get out the way because it almost comes to a politics thing. But Wood is best served if he's not cutting down the lane at a high pick and roll. He needs to space on the wing of the corner. It's simple as that. Tice, he's not a great shooter, but he needs to stop cutting in from the short corner because the defense can easily just sag in or just help and not have him to. It's like playing 4-on-5. So if you want to have more steps with Tate, kind of having those decisions to make, that's fine. But you need to overemphasize guys getting the hell out of the way. It's as simple as that.
See, and I feel like, Steven Silas has come under fire, for the early part of the season. Or, Rockets fans certainly have put him in the hot seat. Don't know if he's actually in the hot seat with the organization. I don't think he is. I think that, the organization firmly backs him. But at this point, how much of the struggles that this Rockets team has faced so far through the early part of the season do you attribute to less so the offensive schemes that they're running and more so the players getting acclimated to said schemes and not quite fully buying in, right? You're talking about, Wood and Tice being, effective floor spacers, but fighting against their natural instincts, right? That's some of the problems that we're seeing on the court is they want to do certain things, but they're having to play a different style than they're accustomed to in a way.
So, if I was to place blame on Silas, I would place it on the fact of the staff trying to find their identity. And I told you before, when you have a veteran coaching staff or a coaching staff that has older players, there's tend to be different identity. You have guys that you want to win games with, and you guys want to develop. The Rockets haven't figured out what they want to do in terms of are they going all on development or are they still trying to win games with the established Eric Gordons, Daniel House, Daniel Tice's, the David Wambas of the world. Until they figure that out, you're gonna have a lot of issues because now you run into the problem of rotational minutes. How do you get guys accordingly? People want to see Garuba on the floor. People want to see Şengün on the floor. They want to see Christopher on the floor. They want to see Green on the floor. When you have a staff that also wants to give minutes to DJ Augustine, David Wamba, Daniel House, all those guys. Now it's a difference of opinion. So I wouldn't say because at some point these guys, the Rockets are making the same mistakes over and over again, and you would think that they do it in practice. And Silas has talked about them going over stuff in the morning and then not carrying over to the nighttime, and that's focus. That's not all on the coaching staff. Like if someone's not focused, you, as a coach, you can get them there, but there's a little gap that players have to take ownership on themselves and get themselves to that next level. So. You can put I guess it would be, if you were to put a percentage on Silas and staff, I guess it would say maybe 40 or 50, maybe 55, just because he's the coach. But at the end of the day, these guys have to take ownership of themselves and their own careers. They want to get to the next level. They want to be in this league for a long time. You have to show that you were able to grasp concepts. You have to show that you're able to applicate things you learn in practice and film sessions into the games, and you can, understand how to win games, most importantly, because there are a lot of games that these guys have been in, they've looked competitive some, and some they haven't looked competitive at all. So it comes down to a lot of factors, but these guys got to shape up. Seriously.
And one of those factors, too, is obviously the starting lineup, which Steven Silas hinted at that he might be making some changes. Now, coming up, we're going to dive into a couple of those possible changes, and we're going to get there after a quick message from our friends over at Calm.com. Do you want to know what makes LeBron James King James? Sleep. That's right. Sleep is his superpower. Calm is the #1 app for sleep and meditation and has teamed up with LeBron James to help you activate the power of sleep. LeBron and Calm know that your mind is like any other muscle in your body, but you don't have to be a world champion to learn how to train it. Calm can help you train your brain so that you sleep better, reduce your stress, and perform at your best, just like LeBron. For LeBron, sleep is a critical part of his mental fitness routine. So, If you head over to calm.com/lockedonnba for a limited time, you'll get 40% off a Calm premium subscription. Again, for a limited time, our listeners can join LeBron and using Calm and get a 40% discount on Calm premium subscription at calm.com/lockedonnba. Unlock content to help you focus, ease stress, and sleep better. Get started at calm.com/lockedonnba. That's calm.com/lockedonnba. Another message from our friends over at Built Bar, because look, we got Thanksgiving right around the corner, which means you got pie, you got turkey, you got stuffing, you got all the different Thanksgiving. It's going to be a Thanksgiving feast, right? And I love Thanksgiving just as much as the next guy. All the good food, all the different treats, and so much variety, right? But maybe you want a yummy dessert that's not just absolutely slammed with calories and sugar, right? It's the perfect time for Built Bars. Built Bar is the new holiday dessert. You can feast on something delicious and feel good about it. Every single Built Bar is low cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber. All right, swap out some coconut cream pie with a coconut Built Bar. Maybe instead of going for the going for raspberry pie, get a raspberry Built Bar thrown in there, right? You can feel good about your dessert choice. It's covered in 100% real chocolate. Look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. These Built Bars, they're basically protein bars that taste like a candy bar. You can't go wrong with them. They got so many amazing flavors to choose from, and you can check them out. Just visit built.com and use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your very next order of the best tasting protein bars. Again, that's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. We appreciate you making Locked On Rockets your first listen of the day. As always, joined weekly by the athletic beat writer for the Houston Rockets, Kelly Iko. Now, Kelly, we're going to go down the line through like a handful of possible lineup changes that this Rockets team could see. Now, obviously, there's some overlap, right? There could be more than one change, but we're going to go through. Let's just start with the likely one, the one that Rockets fans are kind of clamoring for, and that's the easy, clean switch of Daniel Theis out, Alperen Şengün in. This is, to me, I feel like this is the most likely change that we see, coming out of Stephen Silas and co. Where do you stand on that lineup? Is that the lineup that you think we're going to see the change moving forward?
I think so. And when you look at it, I remember when Theis was out in the beginning of that long road trip, and you saw Alperen Şengün in the lineup. The Rockets just looked at they just looked better. Everything flowed. Even if everything doesn't flow through Şengün, the fact that he's so experienced and is such an adept playmaker and has a high IQ, it makes everything easier for the young guys. He's still a 19-year-old, but he plays like someone who's been in the league for 4 or 5 years. He just understands angles, understands spacing, he understands, how to get guys open and make reads and stuff like that. That kind of thing is valuable. Theis is not that. Wood is not that at this point in his career. And Wood likes playing with Şengün. Like it helps him as well. So I think the offense rating with Şengün, I think it was like almost 12 points higher than with Theis on the floor, if not more. And that says a lot to someone that's still a rookie. This guy's a rookie. The spacing, he's not that great of a shooter himself, but the fact that he won't get in the way of a Wood or a Tate and can set those guys up as an additional playmaker, can also help Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. whenever they're in a rut, is why a lot of fans want to see that guy play as many minutes as possible. The Rockets internally have expressed a incredible amount of optimism about this guy and what they think his career will pan out to be. They think he's legit, and if you think so, start him now. Play him. This lineup's not working with Theis. I'm sorry. Like, I know you brought him in. You paid him all this money to be your defensive anchor. And the defense is not great. It's not bad. I think they're 16th?
Yeah, middle of the pack.
The offense looks so bad. And it's like, dude, you're watching them play, and it's like, what did they do in all these weeks and months of camp and all this stuff? It looks like they have no idea what they're doing at times. So, with Şengün on the floor, they just look more competitive. They play faster. They look better. So if you're 1-12, something's not working, obviously. So you got to make a switch. And the easy switch is have Theis anchor the second unit, which I thought he was going to do originally, and have Şengün in the lineup.
With this proposed switch, it's worth noting that Steven Silas didn't make the adjustment. We heard from him post game, before the Grizzlies game, where they got then blown out by 40, basically. Didn't want to make a snap adjustment on the second night of a back-to-back. And, I gave credit to Steven Silas for not wanting to make, a reactionary switch to the starting lineup, but headed into this game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, Kevin Porter Jr. is questionable. So that could be a piece that's, already missing out of what would be his de facto starting five, possibly. So we're kind of operating under the assumption of a healthy Rockets roster, with all hands on deck, all guys readily available, what the new starting lineup moving forward may be. It might not happen this game, right? Because KPJ may or may not be available. That is, still kind of TBD, up in the air. But another switch here, Kelly, that, Rockets fans would probably be a little bit heated about is the idea of moving Jalen Green to the bench in favor of starting Eric Gordon. And I think there's some serious pros and cons to this. Obviously, the gigantic con is Rockets fans would be pissed because they want to see as much Jalen Green as possible. If they could get Jalen Green playing 48 minutes a game, I feel like they would. That said, for Jalen Green's development, it might actually serve him to play against second units and to also space out his minutes and kind of stagger his minutes with Kevin Porter Jr. Because the on-off numbers for KPJ and Jalen Green are actually kind of or actually kind of, I don't want to say concerning right now because they're both still trying to, develop, learn their games, establish themselves, but they've played better when the other is off the court, which is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, but also it makes kind of sense because, Kevin is still learning how to be a point guard himself. He's still struggling with, picking his spots in terms of when to score, when to be aggressive, when to run a set for others, when to get a set for Jalen especially. So, and you kind of see Silas kind of doing that. In the end of quarters, you'll have Jalen Green out there by himself with the second unit trying to get things going for his aggression and stuff like that. So bringing him off the bench would allow him to, although the optics might be bad because he's your number 2 pick in overall. But think about it. Anthony Edwards didn't start every game last season for the Timberwolves, and look at him now. You allow a guy to ease his way into an NBA team, NBA rotation. You give him time with the second unit and allow him to be uber aggressive. This only works if Jalen Green is extremely aggressive when it comes in the game. He can't be playing within the flow of the game. Not wanting to step on toe. You have to be aggressive, and they feed off your energy. It's as simple as that. I think some of the thing is, as a rookie, you don't want to come in, the whole NBA politics thing. You don't want to come in and just like, this is my team. You want to kind of allow things to develop. And I remember him immediately saying everything's going to happen naturally. It will, but you're going to have to put your foot on the gas a little bit as well. So bringing in Gordon, it gives you, a better floor spacer, a much more presence as a veteran. But then we go back to the whole identity thing. Are they trying to win games? Or are they trying to develop guys? So that it's pros and cons with everything. But I do see the angle of bringing Green off the bench in terms of the staggering and allowing Kevin to develop as well as a point guard, and then allowing Green to become more aggressive.
And I got one more for you, Kelly. And this is kind of my wild card one. And this is the one that I feel like it fits for a whole lot of reasons. It's the least likely one, I think, to happen. But that would be substituting out Daniel Tice and starting KJ Martin instead. So effectively shifting Wood to the 5 spot, not running a too big lineup to start the game, and potentially cutting down on 2 big lineups just completely. But this, to me, would be a lineup that would allow the Rockets to really get out and run, play with a lot of pace, get in transition, do what they've preached this a lot. You hear about Steven Silas wanting to play with pace, wanting to get out in transition, get those easy buckets. And I feel like that is a lineup that is incredibly complementary. It allows Wood to play to his strengths, have the mismatch advantage against opposing 5s, really get out with speed. Jae'Sean Tate, KJ Martin, guys that are killer in transition, let KPJ and Jalen Green really fly. That's the one that I think is absolutely least likely to see, but I'm still throwing it out there as a potential wild card possibility. What do you think about that switch up?
I think that's an extremely fun lineup. You're just putting an uber amount of athleticism on the floor. Guys that have a lot of energy. We saw at times against, I think it was on the road trip, they looked fun. They looked like they're getting on the floor. They're causing havoc. And I know Steven Silas, you had to be happy seeing that on the floor. Defensively, he's taking a lot of strides where you can actually trust him in some packages against some bigs. Like we saw during Summer League, they kind of use him as that anchor. And his insane leap allows him to contest some of those shots that you wouldn't normally think a 6'5" guy is contesting. It's as serious as that. And for that reason alone, I think that would help Wood in terms of having someone there that if he misses the first one, you have kids that are kind of behind to clean up. It's kind of weird for a 6'5" guy, but hey, but I think at this point, a staff should try, and I talked to someone on the staff earlier, and they said they're trying different things. They're trying to get creative and see anything that works. So I think you could see something along those lines, or the Şengün or something, because they're looking for answers right now. They're a 1-12 organization. Something's not working, or a lot of stuff's not working actually. So when you're at that point in this early in the season, when you're kind of your back's not to the wall, but it is like optics wise, because guys understand that this is going to be a long rebuild. This is not going to be a snap playing. The Vegas over under was 25 and 25.5 games. We were all crazy for even thinking that they would, game 26. But try something new. Like, it doesn't hurt to try. This is what the line guys want to see. I know the Rockets fans would go ballistic if they saw all the young guys playing, at the same time. Like, I remember against the Lakers, the moment where they were all on the floor, it was all 5 of them. And it was like, this is what they want to see. And then that's like 30 seconds. So I think try Martin. Screw it. Like, why not? Like, there's nothing to lose. This is the rock. This is the floor. This is going to be the lowest point of the season at any point in time. You can only get up from here. So while you're here, just try different stuff and see what works.
Just start throwing stuff at the wall and see if something sticks. Because at this point, racking up 12 straight losses in a row, it's not great. Anything would be better than what we're seeing at this point, honestly, when we're talking about what this team is putting out on the floor. But coming up, there's another guy that, Rockets fans have been very hype about, and he hasn't gotten a whole lot of playing time. Usman Garuba getting sent down to the Rio Grande Valley Vipers to get some playing time down there. Should another Rocket be joining him? We're going to talk about that coming up after a quick message from our friends over at betonline.ag. BetOnline AG is back and better than ever. They've got a new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all of your basketball and football action this season. Head to their new updated website and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your very first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for a 50% welcome bonus on your very first deposit. They got you for basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino game. So don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. We thank you for making Locked On Rockets your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball with host Josh Lloyd. Josh is phenomenal. You got to check out his work over there. If you care about fantasy hoops at all, go check him out. Now, Kelly, we got Usman Garuba going down to the RGV Vipers. It seems like this is something, we've talked about this before, that was probably kind of bound to happen with Garuba. And I want to get to another Rocket here in a second, but what are some of your expectations for him, joining the Vipers? He obviously wasn't getting a lot of burn, a lot of floor time with the Rockets. It was, garbage time minutes sparingly here and there. So what are you looking to see out of him when he joins the Vipers?
I want to see how much attention he's given by Coach Mahmoud and the staff over there, given that they run an extremely similar system. And there's a reason why the Rockets don't even see you going down there as a demotion. They see it more as orientation, because they're allowed to learn the same things that the big guys do up here in Houston and still get the benefit of minutes and playing time against, even if you want to call them semi-pros, whatever, that's still NBA capable talent at the end of the day. Garuba's going to be able to develop offensively, first and foremost. He's going to be able to learn, picking his spots, spacing, where to be, how to be a better shooter, hopefully. Because defensively, it's all there. Like, there's no question about that. Just the problem is, for a team that's dead last in offensive rating, you're not that good of an offensive player right now, and it's not kind of helping matters. So it's good to get down there, get some minutes, get some game time. I would say that he shouldn't be the only one going down there, but only if, going back to identity, if you're not going to play DJ no more, then have Josh Christopher up there playing with the Rockets. If you're still going back and forth, just send him down and just give him the minutes. Makes it easier for everybody involved to know their role. The worst thing in the world is to have a young guy sitting on the bench every night just playing 4 or 5 minutes here. It's not very good for your development. Have those guys play down in the G League. You can call them. I saw the Hornets just send down Book Night and call them back up. Like, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes you can even send John Green for a game. Like, it's not the craziest thing in the world to do stuff like that. Now, Rockets, don't get on me for saying. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from the standpoint of.
No. You're gonna get misaggregated right now. We're gonna see somebody on Twitter is gonna say @KellyEco said that Jalen Green should be in the G League right now. It's gonna be awful.
No, I'm saying use that as a resource for Christopher, for Garuba. That's why they're there. Use their Rio Grande Vipers as a team resource to get those guys better acclimated. So whenever they get in the games, they better understand spacing. They better understand concepts. They better understand how to make reads and how to create for others. And be a better offensive team overall.
I'm really glad you bring up, because that's the guy that I was alluding to was, should Josh Christopher be joining Usman Garuba down in the G League? It was kind of coming into the season. It felt like it was almost a foregone conclusion that both of those guys would spend some time at the G League level. But as you mentioned, we've kind of seen Steven Silas in the last handful of games go away from the DJ Augustine minutes in the rotation, it seems like, to, some spot minutes for Josh Christopher. But, my thing is it more beneficial to Josh to get, 8 to 12 spot minutes a night with the Rockets at the NBA level versus getting 30 plus minutes a night, really, ball in his hands, steering the offense essentially for the RGV Vipers. Very, a lot to, what we saw last season with KPJ when the Rockets sent KPJ down to the Vipers and he basically got those 30 plus minutes a night, reps before joining the team. And I don't know which is more beneficial to him, right? Being around the team, being around established NBA talent, still getting those reps, those experience, or going down to the G League and also building some chemistry with Usman Garuba, right?
Yeah. For Josh, I think if the Rockets can hammer out, rotation minutes and have him at maybe 16, 17, 15, that's great for him. Allow him to handle the second unit. Don't have him thinking that DJ's over his shoulder, tapping him when to get in. Give him a clear and cut defined role. He's still learning the position himself, but he has shown in his small time that he can handle himself on the floor. And if you want to isolate his decision making against everyone else's, this is a team full of rookies. Christopher can still get it and go. He makes things happen on the floor. I would have him, maybe on some weeks, if it's going to be a heavy schedule, you send him down. Then that's fine. You call him back up. That's the whole thing about the G. You can send somebody down and call him back up. I think for now, keep playing him more against the NBA guys. But as the season goes along, you can send him down for like maybe a 3-game stretch. If the Vipers play 2 games and 3 nights, you can have him play 30 minutes, bring him back up to Houston, have him play 15, 18 minutes. Like, just use that well. But, he's good enough where he can play on the roster right now, but he's also young enough where he can develop, with those guys as well.
I'm glad you bring up the, send him down, bring him back up, because the unique thing about the Viper schedule, right, is, they have some games where they're more spaced out. They have some games where they play a few, in close succession. So you can strategically look at the calendar and be like, okay, we're going to send Josh down for this handful of games, bring him back up after they're done. That way he does get those reps in, because I do think, playing time, whether it's at the G League level, NBA level, it's so important for these guys to get those reps in there. And for Josh specifically, he's shown some spurts. He's shown some capability, some willingness to be able to, have the ball in his hands. He's fearless when he's out there on the court, right? He doesn't, he looks like a rookie in certain aspects, but he also looks like, an uber confident rookie out there being willing to do whatever, right? Give me the ball, let me play off the ball, whatever. So getting him those actual reps is going to be really important to his development. And I'm interested to see what Usman Garuba does at the G League level. You said it. The defense is there. He's got to work on the offensive side of the game. It's really unpolished at this point. Hopefully that's something that he can work on and get up to speed a little bit so that the Rockets can maybe bring him back up for some burn for the second half of the season, depending on what's going on with their rotation. But Kelly, what do you got cooking up for us over at the Athletic headquarters? What's going on with the ecosystem?
Yeah, so I got part 2 of that conversation with Coach Piper coming out soon. I have something just on the general wackiness of this whole 112 start. Just a lot of moving parts here, a lot of things to look at. Then I got some features coming up here and there. Just stay tuned. But right now, what you need to look out for is that part 2 with Coach Piper breaking down some of the backcourt issues, which is kind of getting interesting.
I know. I'm looking forward to it. Part 1 was phenomenal. If you haven't checked out Kelly's work at The Athletic, you've got to go do that. Right. Put the link it's always in the description. Go check out his work there. Now, Kelly, I know that you and me, we've all got loaded schedules, but I know that your girl's been a little bit under the weather. I appreciate you taking the time to still be here for our weekly sit down. I hope she's feeling a little bit better. I know she was not doing so great before we sat down to record this, but want to give her a little shout out there.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Now, Kelly, as always, it's been a pleasure. Always, I learned something talking Rockets hoops with you. Hopefully our listeners learned something. Appreciate you taking the time, man.
Hey, man.
All right, that's going to do it for today's show. As always, appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. That's Apple, Spotify, Google, the brand new Odyssey app. Also available now on YouTube. Go hit subscribe at the brand new YouTube channel. We would sincerely appreciate it. That's going to do it for today's episode, though. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.